Hi, welcome back. My name is Carlin Ma, and this is my tutorial on how to use Wings3D. I've been doing a series on Wings 3D on 3D printing software, and I've been doing the same Hello World project in all of them. And it's this yogurt cup self-irrigating planter, where it's this basket that will sit inside of a yogurt cup and have a little drainage hole that you put a wick into a water reservoir below it and a lip so it sits on the edge. It's a little quirky, but it's a very simple shape, and so it's an easy one to do. I've been moving around the world in Windows 3D by selecting the middle mouse, and that immediately puts you in a mode where you're in orbiting everything. To get out of that mode, you have to left click again, and to zoom, use the scroll wheel. To pan about, uses the arrows. It's a really nice, intuitive way to get around the world. And conveniently, if you do things like hit X, you'll see yourself on the X plane. Z, you'll see yourself on the Z plane. Y, you'll see the Y plane. It's a nice negative. It's a nice way to jump around. And when you hit R, actually, it will take you to the default camera view, which for me in this object is a little too close. I don't know how to change it yet, but that is something to learn. So let's go ahead and start a new file to redo this layer cup. Now, you may have also noticed that there are no toolbars anywhere, and that's because everything in Wings3D is done with the 3-button mouse and contextual menus. So when I right-click, I get this great, huge list of things that I can do, and one of them is to place a cylinder here. Now, since I'm doing an object with real constraints, I like to do numeric input. And to get the numeric input, you click on this square right over there, and you get a dialog box. Wings3D, like Blender and a lot of the other 3D software, is unitless, so everything's really done in ratios. My preference in this context is going to be to have one match up to a centimeter, just to get the scale right in this world. So the height for my basket is going to be 5.5 and 5.5. Everything happens to be 55 millimeters in this context. If I was going to go ahead and do a taper, which I actually do want in the long run for this, but that's not my Hello World choice, this is where I could go ahead and make the top face be a little bit bigger than the bottom face. Here we go. And there's a little basket. Now, I'm going to right-click on the face of this cylinder and actually extrude it up a little. And I'm going to click normal. I could also, in this context, do the y-axis because up and down is the way I'm going. But normal means perpendicular to the tangent. Basically, go out in the same direction that the face is facing. And again, I'm going to hit the tab key, and that's going to let me enter 0.3 for 3 millimeters. 3 millimeters is the thickness of the lip on this particular device. I'm not going to extrude the lip yet. I'm going to go ahead and right-click again on the top face and do an intrude. An intrude is a really nice feature. It makes a basket, it makes the basket inside of the shape. And the width of the wall that you're seeing form up there is actually all the way around, including from the bottom of the floor. I'm going to hit tab again, and I know that I want my wall to be 2.5 millimeters, so I'll do 0.25 there. And now at this point, I can go ahead and switch to edge select mode, click on one of the edges, and conveniently tap on the G key, and I will select what's known as the edge loop, edge ring. Anytime you have a bunch of lines perpendicular to each other, you can select them as an edge ring by hitting the G key. And then I'm going to right click. So this is the contextual menu. What you'll see is if I switch to faces, which is actually what I want to have selected, everything in my contextual menu changes because there are different things you can do with faces rather than edges. And now I'm going to extrude. You definitely want to, in this context, do extrude and not shell extrude. Extrude will bring out that wall and leave a volume behind it. Extract will separate it out as a whole new object, which is useful if you sort of want to create nested objects. And shell extrude, though, will leave an extra interior wall in there, and that's not what we want in this context. So we just go ahead and extrude. Again, normal. Actually, I'll show you what free is. Free is sort of fun. You can move around. All right. You don't want to do that. We want to go ahead and do extrude, normal. And I know tab that I want my lip to be 1.5 centimeters out from the edge. And I'm going to press the space bar to make sure that I don't have anything selected. The next thing to do, the last thing to do really, is to add the drainage hole here on the bottom. So I orbit around, I click the middle left mouse to release it, I right click the bottom here, and I do inset. Now, when you hit inset, you may actually get a percentage. I think the default is actually percentage. So if you see tab up here, and percentage in this context, you can do the math, you take a percentage of the distance. What's actually easier is if you hit the 5 key, oops, excuse me, I'm going to have to cancel out of this. Undo. If I do inset, and if you hit the 5 key, that will switch your mode. So now instead of as a percentage, I am using actual distances. And I know in order to get a 6 millimeter hole in the bottom of this, I'm going to need to do a distance of 2.45. Oh, a nice thing is actually the bump. The bump will actually move it out. I don't want a bump, but I'll show you what it looks like. Woohoo! So you'll get a, that's a nice feature there. So one more time. Inset, tab, you can 2.45, okay, and swing around. Now I need to select here. If I select here right now, that little circle on the other side will still be selected and it will screw me up. So I like to select something and then hit the space bar to make sure to see all my selections going away. Right click here, inset, move it again, hit tab, and now I know it needs to be 2.2 in, and I select that little nub in the middle and orbit around using the middle mouse. Left click to release the orbiting mode, click again, right click, and now we just bridge the two parallel faces, and there's the hole. Woo! And go all the way through. Click the middle mouse, turn around in my little object, and there we go. That's it. That's all it takes. Zooming out. One of the nice things you can do if you switch to object mode and you select your whole object, you can now be sure that the whole thing is in fact one object. If you try to make different shapes and meld them together, they may not be. So you would have to manually combine them. What you can also do is select it and do cleanup. There are things like auto smooth and a lot of other neat features in here. That didn't need really to make this shape. And that was it. Thanks so much for watching. I will put the link to the blog post in the comments, and I hope you found this useful. Have a good rest of your night.